I want to go to school to learn. I don't want to go to school to hear about people plotting a mass attack or a mass shooting on my school. I come to get an education. Good evening and welcome to Give Me a Break. I'm Jonathan Corbin. It happened here in Texas. Two teens were arrested for for making a plot against the school. This happened at Memorial High School in Texas. And as you're about to see, the people, the two kids, got a dose in reality. Take a look.
Two teens are under arrest in Texas for allegedly plotting a mass casualty attack at a school. The FBI's Houston office says it received information on a threat the previous day and worked with the local police department to identify the suspects. Reports say the two arrested were girls aged 15 and 16. They allegedly planned to shoot students and place pipe bombs at Memorial High School located in Hedgewig Village, a suburb of Houston. While one of the suspects is reportedly a student at that school, the other goes to school in a different district. KHOU reports the 16-year-old is charged with making a terroristic threat, while the charges against the 15-year-old are unknown. The plan was reportedly shared on social media, and its detailed description is what made the FBI take it seriously. Extra security measures have been taken in schools since they were made aware of the alleged plot. This is a developing story. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
These girls didn't get the message? Well, I might as well play you what Sheriff Chitwood said back in
I'm a proud trucking Texan.
2024.
But
24. Good afternoon. Captain Todd Smith with us, who is oversees school security for the sheriff's office and partners with the school district. You know, this is absolutely out of control, and it ends now. 54 and counting tips came into Fortified Florida last night. Okay, that means investigators in the school district have been running around the clock to investigate these tips, which are all turning out to be false. So far, it's cost $21,000 to do these investigations. We have two in custody. We have an investigation looking at one other individual. So far this year, there have been 207 threats who have come in. We've arrested 7 people for written threats to kill. One student, if you remember, tried to bring a loaded firearm into a Mainland football game. We've had 11 weapons on our campuses this year. So what we're going to start doing Monday is, since parents, you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. Every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put out there. And if I could do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid so that everybody can see what your kid's up to. The second point of this is, if I can any way find out that a parent knew what was going on and wasn't doing anything, your is getting perp walked with him. The purpose of Fortified Florida is to send in tips that we're going to investigate because you believe something is going to happen. To keep sending in these tips over and over and over again and think it's a big joke and nothing's going to happen to it. Starting Monday, we're going to have a billboard. We're going to have a poster out. I'm going to show you every kid that's been arrested and where they go to school. And then from there on out, we're going to publicly shame them and their parents. So parents, do your job. Don't let Sheriff Chitwood raise your kids. This is absolutely ridiculous. Go talk to the families who have lost a loved one in a school shooting. These little knuckleheads think it's funny. Go talk to those parents and see how funny this is. It's not. We're going to come and get you, and we're going to put you out for public embarrassment. And I know a set of parents right now that they're looking at $11,000 each because somebody's paying this bill.
And they're paying the bill. You know, what happened to the parents? What happened to conversation? You are the parent. Take a look at the news look at this full interview.
Explain to them you're not your kid's buddy, okay? You're not your kid's friend. You're a parent. Act like a parent. Sit them down. Explain to them the severity of these false tips.
Or any threats on social media. You know, we all see it on social media these days. Kids are making threats to social media, and then nobody does a damn thing about it because nobody cares. Not even the parents can sit there and say, look, I know you don't like school, but this is the wrong way to do so. How are you supposed to do it? The right way. If you hate school, then just live with it, We have to necessarily do things in life that we necessarily don't want to do. I don't want to go to work, but I have to because I want to make some money. I want to be able to pay my rent, pay my bills, buy clothes, buy food. I can't live my life stealing because it's against the law and I could go to jail. If I did that, again, I'd be going to jail for stealing because it's against the law. I mean, you need an education so desperately bad to take care of your basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. And on top of that, nice clothes, nice automobiles. You have to work in order to get these things. And one student in particular, you can't even negotiate your way out of punishments like this next student did. Coming up, a student decides he's going to talk to her principal about getting out of her punishment, which was 5 days in school suspension for having 7 tardies. But she had prom. Is it a tough lesson to be? And later on, con artists. From Steve Croft to Mike Wallace. Please stay with us. Every punishment, whether it's prison or school punishments in a handbook, they're set up for a reason. Students have to realize there's always consequences, and they can't sit down and negotiate their way out. And when you're in court, you cannot negotiate on your punishments. Because in life, you have to do things that you necessarily don't want to do. With this girl right here, she wanted to go to an after-school function, but the school says, sorry, you have this many days of ISS, you cannot attend. Otherwise, you'll go back to Monday. Take a look.
Hi, Jessica.
I'm in school suspension right now, and I'm not feeling too well, and I think I might need to go.
Okay, that's not a problem, but how many days do you have left in school suspension?
I'm supposed to get out Friday. Friday's supposed to be my last day.
So if you go home today, that'll bump you back to Monday, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now if you bump back to Monday, our policy is that you cannot attend an after-school function while you are being assigned ISS during that time frame.
Like prom?
Yes. That would mean that you would miss prom.
But that's not fair though. Like,
I'm not worried about being fair. That's policy.
I just think this whole thing is ridiculous. I think that book is ridiculous. I
and
think
that's
the way
fine.
the way that you can't just.
That's certainly your opinion, but in this school, for this year, this handbook is our guidelines. Our student handbook is more or less the Bible that we run the school by. We're not going to deviate from it any.
My punishment should be in school suspension for my tardies, but instead I feel like it's having to choose between prom, one of the most important nights of my life, and staying at school while I'm really sick. And I'm having to make that choice when it's not fair to me.
Okay, if you had not been tardy 7 times and received 5 days in in-school suspension, then we would not be having this conversation.
I understand that.
Okay, and that's all there is to that. Okay.
I feel really sick, and I don't want to be here because I'm sick, and I feel horrible. I'm throwing up, and I've already thrown up twice. I'm not asking for you to bend the rules. I'm just asking for a little bit of slack because I'm sick. That's all I'm asking for.
I'm not going to give you any slack. Okay? And that'll be my decision. We're going to follow the policy, and you will serve in school suspension or go home, honey. If you're sick, go home.
But I just spent $200 on a dress. I'm not going home after I spent $200 on a dress, and I'm sick. And what if I'm sick tomorrow? I can't help that. I'm not going to spend the next 3 days in school just so I can go to prom because I'm sick. Prom is really, really important. It's like a girl's dream, and he has no sympathy for me at all. is there any way I can please go home today and serve it Monday and still go to the prom?
No.
Please. I wouldn't be sitting in your office if I wasn't extremely sick fighting about my prom.
The rules are the rules. I'm not breaking them. I'm not going to allow you to break them. And I'm not going to deviate from them because I can't and I won't.
I have to go to prom.
Let's end it like this, Jessica. As I said before, we don't negotiate on these punishments. All right? We can't accept it. Go ahead. Hey, bathroom's right around the corner. Have a good day.
He looks at the handbook like it's a Bible. He thinks that's his life. He doesn't care about his students' feelings. He doesn't care about anything. He cares about that stupid handbook. Who cares about that handbook? No one cares. Mr. Walter, no one cares.
I hope that what Jessica learned out of this is a lifelong lesson that sometimes we have to do things that we don't necessarily want to do.
It's a lifelong lesson that you need to learn growing up. And believe me, we gotta learn it somehow. You can't just sit there and negotiate and say, hey, Your Honor, can we get his sentence reduced? Because, if it's only because of a medical condition, then okay. They may make an exception. But what needs to happen here is that if your trial needs to be reduced or your sentence to be reduced because you got a medical condition, then you should have told the judge before the trial before the sentence saying, hey, this person right here, this person has a medical condition. Can he get his sentence reduced because of his medical condition? If they make an exception, then they make an exception. If they say, no, we cannot do that, then it's part of life, And for this girl, prom is just, it's an after-school function. And it's a privilege. A bit later on, probably on Gimbrick Saturday, we're going to show you a girl who's a senior, who missed Saturday attention because she slept all day, and no one woke her up. But we have a very special treat for you. Come up next, 4 60-minute stories on con artists, from cream puffs to tax scams to con men. Please stay with us. I hope you're in for a real treat because tonight we have 4 stories about con men who use and scam your money. First up on the list is a cream puff. That's not a dish. It's a term being used to roll back the odometer on your car. If you just buy a used car lot with the odometer rolled back, you may be getting less mileage. And in Houston years ago, that's exactly what happened. 60 Minutes decided to look into the cream puff scam and take hidden cameras in and show you a demonstration. Here's Steve Croft.
There are 2 ways to do this. I'm going to do it the easy way.
This is not a demonstration for our television camera. What you're watching is a crime in progress. This man is adding about $2,000 to the value of this 1985 Buick by losing 50,000 miles off the odometer. In the used car business, it's called busting miles or whipping miles.
Where you grab them has a whole lot to do with how they turn out.
He doesn't know we're taping it. We set up a hidden camera in a nearby van before he arrived. He charges $50 a car and expects to make $400 today, tax-free. And he didn't even start until after lunch. These are the men who hired him: John Hazlett and Charles Vance, 2 former used car dealers who invited us down to Houston to help expose the crooks.
As far as odometer rollback men themselves, the person that does the mechanics of it, there's, I would say 50 in town.
Find them in the Yellow Pages?
No, but you can pick up the phone and do it. We did it. We had them waiting in line to do it.
The reason Charles Vance and John Hazlett know so much about the used car business is they were in it for 20 years until they got fed up and quit. They told us so many of their competitors were rolling back miles, there was no way to survive in the business without doing the same thing. Houston police told us they were trustworthy and reliable.
The way the business is right now is completely dominated and controlled by mile busters. which has inflated the car prices to a certain level that a legitimate wholesaler cannot operate in it.
One of the first people Charles and John introduced us to was Bill Whitlow, the heavy-set fellow in the boss hog hat. He's been a used car wholesaler for 40 years and is called the granddaddy of the Houston Mile Busters. Whitlow will buy a trade-in from a used car dealer, roll back the miles, then sell it to a different dealer. Our camera was hidden across the street when Whitlow began bragging about tens of thousands of miles he's rolled off these cars.
That one was 65,
65. What's on that?
and that one was 70. I know what it was.
And they're 40 and 40 now?
Yeah, let's do it. Them got 39.
39,000.
Them got 42.
But rolling back the miles is only half the trick. The title has to be forged to match the new odometer reading. Charles and John told Whitlow that they already had somebody who could forge the titles. Whitlow said he could do it better and probably cheaper.
What they been charging?
200 a copy.
Oh, damn. I ain't gonna tell you who's doing mine.
But how much will you charge? I don't want to know who's doing it.
$100 a copy.
Damn, we go for that.
What about if,
Immediately.
what about if John gives you like 30 of them a week? Any cheaper?
We make a deal.
Okay. Well, you'll handle them all.
Yeah.
38.
So Charles gave Whitlow a title and asked him to forge it, lowering the odometer reading by 60,000 miles. When Whitlow brought the finished product by the next day, we had the camera concealed behind a wall in Charles and John's office. I put on sunglasses and posed as a friend of theirs who might want to invest $100,000 in Whitlow's rollback operation.
He's already changed the miles and you can virtually not detect it.
I never had one came back on. I guess I've been lucky, but I guess
You that are good.
Just good work.
yeah, good work.
Good work and plenty of it. Plenty of titles, plenty of cars.
How many of these you do a month?
Good month I'll do 75 myself.
Whitlow claims he makes less than $1,000 a car, but that's still pretty good money. How much money does he make a month?
I'm saying average month you'll make 50 grand.
50 grand.
Yeah. See, I'm not as fast as I used to be. I know how
The best part of it for Whitlow is, he says the $50,000 a month is all tax-free.
I ain't filed income tax myself for 13 years, 15 years.
There's no wholesaler stand in this town that's making money. It's not whipping miles. Is that true?
I don't know none.
That's right.
This is not exactly legal, right?
What?
This is not exactly legal, right? What's the downside? I want to know what the downside is.
It's not exactly legal, no.
We found this Bill Whitlow special on the used car lot of Russell and Smith Ford, a 1987 Aerostar van, a real cream puff, and only 52,000 miles, according to the odometer. But Charles Vance and John Hazlett had been tracking this van. When Bill Whitlow bought it from another Houston dealer, it had 131,000 miles on it. When he resold it to Russell and Smith Ford, 80,000 miles had vanished. With our cameras hidden, we asked the salesman about the van.
52,000 miles. You're sure of the mileage?
I just figured out who this man looks like. You look like that guy that does that 60 Minutes thing on TV. You do. You look like that guy.
Steve Croft.
Yes.
How you doing? Your name is
Raymond Mason.
Raymond. Nice
You're
to meet
not
you.
Steve Croft.
I am.
No, you're not.
What would you say, Raymond, if I told you that this car had 131,000 miles on it?
Let's say you can show me.
So we showed him an odometer statement proving that when the van was sold to Bill Whitlow, it had 80,000 more miles on it. That surprised Mason, and so did our camera.
Yeah, that's amazing.
General Sales Manager Vincent Alfano and used car manager Tom DeLisi agreed that the van had been rolled back.
We, of course, we probably took it on a trade-in, and people trade them in, signed an odometer statement stating the actual miles that, that's on the car. We don't follow these people around for years. We just take cars on trade.
Have you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Bill Whitlow?
No.
Yes, I do. Yeah. You know Bill Whitlow? Yeah. I think you bought this vehicle from Bill Whitlow. 73 number? It's possible. Suppose I told you that Bill Whitlow told us just about an hour ago that
The only cars he ever sells all had their odometers turned back. Would that surprise you?
Yes, it would.
Maybe he really was surprised, but Bill Whitlow had told us earlier that most dealers suspect his cars have been rolled back.
Well, they have an idea. They don't want to know it. You know, they got an idea, yeah.
When paying with Cash App Card feels pro, because you have rounders turned on.
Give me 17 cents on Bitcoin.
No, that's not true, because I do not know that.
He's the only one in town that wouldn't know if he didn't.
I mean, it's just common knowledge. You know, flies gather on horses, Bill Whitlow hit miles.
Vance and Hazlett say it's not that difficult for a dealer to find out if a car's been rolled back. The dealer can check its title history, even its service record.
You could have taken 5 more minutes, you could have taken the serial number from this car, punched it into your computer, found out the last time this car was serviced, who owned the car, and what the mileage was, right?
I don't know. I imagine that's possible.
But authorities say few dealers make the effort.
If it did bring it in, it looks like it's got 52,000 miles on it, looks pretty clean.
Yeah.
You don't see any reason to check. You don't want to know.
No.
In my opinion, it's his obligation and his job to check that car. And if a man that's been in the car business for 20 years, like he said he had, and he can't tell the difference between 131,000 miles and 52,000 miles, he needs to get another job.
What percentage of the cars sitting on used car lots have had their odometers rolled back?
I'd say 40% of the cars.
Really?
I was going to say 50 out of 200 definitely, in cases that I've investigated myself.
How many Bill Whitlows are there in Houston?
Only one Bill Whitlow. If you ask me how many mile busters there are in Houston, let's say there's probably 15 large ones and a lot of small ones. A lot of small ones.
At Greenspoint Dodge, we found a red Toronado that had been whipped by another wholesaler. We showed the salesman proof that the car had gone at least 78,000 miles, even though the odometer showed only 49,000. This time, the sales manager didn't seem all that grateful for the information.
I don't have a problem. Hey, you want to make it on? What's
We
the
just
deal?
had a question. Hi, my name's Steve Croft.
I'm Jim Willis. How you doing?
For 60 minutes. We're here looking at this car, and we just wanted to know where'd those 30,000 miles go, and how did this happen?
I have no idea.
But you looked at the piece of paper.
Yeah, I've looked at it. I'm gonna call the guy that could have sold me the car and make him buy it back.
But first, he gave us one last chance.
Do you want to buy the car?
I don't think we want to buy it at the price you're asking.
Then what are you worried about?
There was someplace along the line this car's lost 30,000 miles. And I just want to find out if you knew about it.
No, I don't know.
And
We do not do anything like that.
Apparently, Greenspoint Dodge did not have anything to do with the rollback. The odometer was whipped by the wholesaler who had bought the car at an auction.
What are you saying right here?
170,000 cars get auctioned every week. Many are high mileage, late model cars, perfect for wholesalers who can roll up profits by rolling back miles. Anglo-American Auctions, headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee, says it spent $2 million on a computer system to try and keep rollback cars out of its auctions. But Security Chief Gary Dickinson admits that he can't prevent buyers from busting the miles later.
We see where the problem is, and we're helpless to do anything about it.
Dickinson says the problem is every state has a different kind of title, and all but a few are too easy to forge.
what's the answer?
A uniform title.
So you're talking about standardized title forms throughout the country?
Absolutely.
Would that wipe it out?
It would go a long way to start.
I'll tell you what, if I had to quit it, I'd get out of the car business.
Couldn't make any money if you didn't
I
do
don't
it.
believe there's enough money for me out there if I do it in jumping.
I want to show you one. I want to show you one thing.
All right.
You know what's back there?
What's back there? No.
It's a TV camera back there.
What is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been taping this whole thing.
Well, all right.
The good news is, we're not cops.
Well, I didn't think so.
The bad news is we're 60 Minutes, and you're not worried about the cops.
Not really.
And by the way, according to Charles Vance, the truck Bill Whitlow rode off in had been rolled back 70,000 miles. After we left, Vance and Hazlett got threatening phone calls and a more serious warning. Someone fired 2 bullets through their office wall.
The gunshots were actually about less than 100 yards from where I live, so I have a major concern for my family at this time.
Vance and Hazlett say because we came to Houston, police are now taking a closer look at odometers, and dealers are taking a closer look at cars they buy from wholesalers. But the threatening phone calls keep coming.
Is this Charles Vance?
This is he.
You're going to lose your family good, and that's compared to drugs that's going to burn your body. You and John don't stop this 60 minutes. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is your last warning. I'm telling you this right now.
In response to our story, federal investigators indicted Bill Whitlow and 4 others for odometer tampering. 2 of them have already pleaded guilty. And 3 weeks ago, a man who confessed to shooting those bullets into Charles Vance's office said he did it for Bill Whitlow in retaliation for the 60 Minutes story.
In retaliation, but not being retaliated for a tax refund scam. Coming up in 2015, there was a tax refund scam you might not know about, and later 2 con man stories. Please stay with us. This next story is all about government bureaucracy. It's a scam, it's an identity theft scam, but the con is a tax refund. We're just months away from the tax deadline, and a lot of people are using identity theft just to get the taxes. How is it done? Once again, here's Steve Croft.
The fraud that we have been encountering, the vast number of fraudulent tax returns was something that I don't think the IRS ever really was ready for.
Wilfredo Ferrer is the United States Attorney for Southern Florida, and George Pirro, the agent in charge of the Miami field office of the FBI. Together, they run a federal task force operating at the epicenter of the largest tax scam in the country.
Florida has been 3rd year in a row on the top, #1, in terms of ID theft complaints. And Miami is also #1 in terms of metropolitan areas that suffer from identity fraud.
Don't take this the wrong way. Is there any scheme that Miami is not #1 at?
We have very sophisticated and good criminals, Steve, who know how to defeat the system.
For decades now, South Florida has been the Silicon Valley for scam artists, drawn here by the weather, the beaches, and the opportunity to make lots of money without actually doing much work. There's Medicare fraud, mortgage fraud, securities fraud, and now what the Justice Department calls stolen identity tax refund fraud, a tax preparation scheme epitomized by an overabundance of questionable-looking establishments that have sprung up here over the past few years. But this scam is so easy you don't even need an office.
For this fraud, all you need is a laptop, someone's social security number, date of birth, not even their name. They can do it from their kitchen table, they can do it at a fast food chain restaurant, or they can do it on the beach as long as they have Wi-Fi access.
Actually, Corey Williams says you don't even need a laptop. You can file phony returns on your cell phone if you have the right app. He used to be a legitimate tax preparer until his boss turned him onto the scam. Before he was arrested and sentenced to 40 months in prison, he'd made millions and millions of dollars.
Anybody who knew about it, you'd be a fool to not try to get involved with making some money. I could wake up in the comfort of my own home and just get on a laptop, do about 15 returns a day. 15 times $3,000 a return, that's $45,000 a day.
So you had a home office?
Yeah, I used to work I would work in my boxes and the t-shirt. Yeah.
It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Williams gave us a demonstration. 1, you collect or buy a list of stolen identities that are readily available in Miami if you know the right people. 2, you go to one of dozens of tax preparation sites online, and using the stolen social security numbers and dates of birth, you fill out a completely bogus W-2 form claiming a modest refund of a few $1,000s.
It has given us a refund of $4,834.
3, you tell the IRS if you want the refund mailed to your house, wired to your bank account, or loaded onto a prepaid debit card.
You have any idea how many bogus returns you filled out?
Has to be like in the thousands.
Did the IRS pay all of them?
On a percentage range, you'd say they would pay out 40% of the tax returns.
Once you hit the send button, how long did it take you to get a check?
7 days.
7 days?
Yes.
So you'd send in these returns and 7 days later you'd get a check?
Yes.
40% of the time?
40% of the time.
Where would you have them send the check?
You could send the checks to an address, any address. I've seen cases where 25 checks came to one address and the mailman delivered it.
It sounded so outrageous we wanted to run it by the federal task force.
So you just put down a name and a social security number and you could make up an employer or the amount of money that was earned and withheld and send it off to the IRS, and they'll send you a check back for the refund?
They will pay most of the time unless they catch that there's some fraudulent, information, and it is our job to chase.
I'm still amazed that you don't need to provide any documentation when you file your tax return.
There are no supporting documents when you're filing electronically. And that's the ease or the convenience that was created for the benefit of the innocent taxpayer, which is now being exploited by criminals.
You would think that the IRS computers would notice that they were sending thousands of checks to a handful of addresses, but they didn't. And you might expect that the IRS would match taxpayer returns with legitimate W-2 forms filed by employers. It doesn't do that either, because the law requires refund checks to be sent out within 6 weeks, and employer W-2s are often not available until months later. So if a bogus return is received before a legitimate one, the check will go out to the crooks.
The way that you learn that you become a victim of this is when you go in and try to file your return and the IRS tells you, oh, you've already filed. You're like, no, I haven't. Oh, yes, you have. Well, it wasn't you, it was the fraudster who used your identity to file the return.
And it's not an easy problem to get fixed. Many of the people in this line outside the IRS office in Plantation, Florida, are victims of the fraud, waiting to prove their identity and claim their rightful refund. They will eventually be reimbursed, but it can involve massive amounts of paperwork, multiple visits to the office, and months of waiting.
Did you know about this before you got this job?
I had no idea about this before I started getting briefed last fall.
John Koskinen is the commissioner of the IRS, its fourth commissioner in just 2 years. It's become a high turnover position in part because the agency has been beset by a number of embarrassing problems, including stolen identity tax fraud, that have led people to question its competency.
I mean, it looks to me like the IRS got really outsmarted by some people who were not all that bright or not all that ingenious.
What happened was a lot of people discovered that A, social security numbers are either easy to steal or find or buy, and then B, you could file a false return.
Why didn't anybody anticipate that?
Well, I think it goes back to the fact that people didn't anticipate social security numbers were going to be so readily available. The assumption was, until very recently, that a social security number was a part of your identity that you protected and took great care of. So that no one actually ever expected that those would be easy to get a hold of.
But there were plenty of warnings. The Senate Finance Committee held hearings on stolen identity refund fraud way back in 2009, when then IRS Commissioner Douglas Shulman testified.
I discussed the issue of identity theft with the senior leaders at the IRS my first day on the job.
There were more hearings in 2011 and another in 2012 with Deputy IRS Commissioner Steve Miller.
We cannot stop all identity theft. However, we are better than we were, and we will get better still.
In those ensuing years, the number of cases of stolen identity refund fraud have risen from 51,000 to nearly 3 million.
In the year 2012, the Department of Treasury's Inspector General predicted that by the year 2016, IRS will be hemorrhaging and losing $21 billion due to this type of fraud.
It's only 2014. Don't you think something can be done in the next 2 years to fix this?
Well, that is my hope.
But it will not be easy. The entire IRS system uses Social Security numbers as its primary means of identifying taxpayers, even though they're now ubiquitous in public, private, and corporate files, just waiting to be stolen by thieves.
The key to this is to have somebody in the inside or someone who has access to our Social Security numbers to our date of birth, and a lot of these individuals are insiders in big institutions, in banks, hospitals, schools, clinics.
We would approach anyone who worked at like a dental office, anybody who worked in the medical field. You would just approach them, you tell them if they get you 100 names, you'll give them $1,000.
These people easy to find in Miami?
Very easy. Very easy.
Because you would think if you went in and started knocking doors and asking people that worked at hospitals and doctors' offices and dentists' offices, somebody would call the cops.
No, they needed the money more than they wanted to call the cops. Everybody was with it. Everybody was with the scam.
Was this like a community of people doing this?
More like a nation of people doing this.
It's gone from hundreds of people filing hundreds of fraudulent returns to thousands of people filing millions of fraudulent returns, and it's become much more organized. U.S. Attorney Ferrer says some people are even setting up franchises.
We have had defendants, masterminds of these schemes, engage in filing parties. And what they do is that they invite their friends to a hotel room or to an apartment, and then they tell them how to do it in return for a cut of these tax returns.
You make it sound like Amway or Tupperware.
That's what we've seen.
Even Ferrer's old boss, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, had had his identity stolen in an IRS refund scam. And a number of members of the task force have also been victimized, including North Miami Beach police officer Rocky Festa, who says local police departments have been hit hard.
Aventura had nearly the entire department, which was 50 some odd officers got hit. Davie Fire and Davie Police, it was in the hundreds. They were all victims of tax return fraud.
Festa and his partner, Craig Caitlin, now work exclusively on tax refund cases and were among the first to discover the breadth of the scam 5 years ago when they began finding tax documents and stacks of prepaid debit cards when they pulled over suspicious vehicles.
Here's a wire plastic with the card.
You can get one of these prepaid debit cards almost anywhere, usually without providing identification. You then deposit and withdraw money from it as needed. It's like a bank account for people who don't have one.
Now, is that a Visa, real Visa card?
It's a real Visa card. And you
can go into a convenience store and buy a Visa card?
Right off the shelf.
If you want, the IRS will electronically deposit tax refunds directly onto these cards, no questions asked, eliminating the need for crooks to ever actually set foot inside a bank or to try and cash a refund check. They can spend the money in stores or withdraw it from ATMs.
So is this kind of like a throwaway phone?
Yes, sir. Yeah, once the money goes on the card, you empty the money off on ATMs and you put the card in the garbage. It's pretty good.
The prepaid cards are now used by millions of Americans to collect $142 billion in government entitlements, like Social Security and Medicare payments. IRS Commissioner Koskinen thinks it's an invitation to commit fraud.
The prepaid cards are the currency of criminals. Our problem is you can't distinguish the number of a prepaid card from a legitimate bank account.
Almost impossible to trace, right?
It is almost impossible to trace.
Why doesn't somebody put it in the bank?
There are a significant percentage of the population unbanked, as it were called. Because if you don't allow them to use a prepaid card, they're going to have to get a check, and they'll have to pay somebody a lot of money to cash that check. So you're disadvantaging a significant part of the population.
And empowering a criminal network.
And you're empowering a criminal network.
5 years into the scam, the IRS can still not always tell if the person filing the return and claiming the refund is actually the real taxpayer. By comparison, the credit card companies are much better at flagging suspicious charges before they're paid out.
Credit card companies don't have that much of a problem with this. Why can't the IRS do that?
So that's the direction in which we're going. It's a significant move into what I call the 21st century. We're still kind of in the late 1900s, but this is still a big problem that we have. While we're making great progress, we've got a lot of work to do.
And they're having trouble keeping up with the con artists. Last month, the IRS announced that hackers had busted into its computer system and stolen another 104,000 taxpayer identities, which so far have been used to collect nearly $50 million in bogus refunds. As for Corey Williams, he's now in jail, serving his 40-month sentence.
must have dozed off for a second. Coming up, the last two stories all about con men. 1-800-CON-MEN and con men. Please stay with us. Alright, so far we did cream puffs, we did the tax fraud scam. Now it's all about the prison sale scam. Credit card fraud. It's about a story of this man who was in jail but abused the phone system. How did he do it? Here's Mike Wallace.
For he ran it all without ever leaving a cell in Miami's Dade County Jail, where, believe it or not, inmates have telephones right in their jail cells and can make local calls and 1-800 calls free of charge.
I would challenge you, Mr. Wallace, if they put you in a room the size of your bathroom at home for years at a time with a telephone, that I would challenge you that you would come up with some pretty inventive stuff to do, because you do everything through the phone.
And that's exactly what Danny Ferris did, using a telephone from a large cell on the 10th floor of Miami's Dade County Jail, and later from this 6 by 8 foot cell. Federal investigators acknowledge he managed to steal as much as $2 million worth of merchandise.
And how did the business work? Accomplices on the outside provided Ferris with hundreds of credit card numbers, taken from charge slips in hotel dumpsters. And then he used those credit card numbers to order merchandise from mail-order catalogs by telephone, arranging for the items to be delivered overnight. Again, to accomplices on the outside who would sell the goods and split the proceeds with Ferris.
Ferris even persuaded his fellow inmates to let him use their extension telephone as his own private line.
Take the extension phone into your cell.
Actually, it was a vacant cell that I quite literally had turned into an office. We were having a ball.
And you did business?
Oh, yes, sir, a bumper business.
And it went on for 4 years, with Ferris ordering everything from collectible gold and silver coins to Rolex watches to video camcorders. And with the help of those accomplices on the outside, he hit states from one end of the country to the other.
Oh, it's so easy to find Confederates. I split right half with everybody. I mean, I never took more than half. I got robbed a lot, but again, you kind of take it on the chin, you know what I mean? It was, like you said, it was all free.
So he ordered cases of the best champagne and gourmet gift baskets and thousands of roses. And he had them sent to the families of other inmates and even to his prison guards.
They're working stiffs, you know, they're not making much money, and they're seeing this stuff going on, and they're hearing about Dom Perignon and trips to the Caribbean, and there I am in my cell. They know what's up. There's not, you know, and you know, I tried to send at Christmas and on holidays. I tried to send out, you know, baskets. And
it cost them nothing.
Oh no, Paris is off. No.
Of course, jail officials deny that guards accepted gifts, but one investigator told us off camera that he believes some guards did receive items from Danny. And we even found evidence that Danny dabbled in charity.
I have here a Save the Children Federation, Inc., Westport, Connecticut, addressed to Daniel Ferris, 1151 Northwest 11th Street, Suite 104. That's your jail cell.
I'll be there. Yeah.
Save the children.
Well, yeah. Again, when you have nothing but 24 hours a day, and you know, late night on Sunday night, after everybody has gone to bed for sure, they always put these little poor, pitiful, with flies crawling out of their nose, Biafran babies and stuff on. I mean, heartbreaking stuff. 1-800 number, MasterCard and Visa. And it's just a phone call. My position was when the people got their credit card bill and look at it and they say, well, I didn't order Save the Children here for $22, and they look at the poor children. They've all flashed on those poor starving children. I can't believe that most of them are still paying that $22, Mr. Wallace. I would, if somebody did this to me and said, look, give, doggone it.
But what about the cops? Well, they were not amused by the jailhouse shopping network.
I think Danny Ferris is a convicted killer and a con man. Nothing more.
Lieutenant Ross Hughes and fellow officer Raul Ubieta of the Metro Dade Police spent months building a case against Ferris, and they knew he had confessed to murdering a friend while under the influence of cocaine.
He's already in jail for murder, possibly facing the electric chair, so the fellow had no fear of any reprisal for the fraud that he was doing.
So he engaged in what is called the jailhouse shopping network.
And he was
very successful enterprise.
And he was very comfortable in that role.
And he would remain comfortably in business because Hughes and Ubieta's case against him was eventually dropped by the Dade State's attorney. Why? In insufficient credible evidence, the state's attorney said. The two Metro-Dade investigators continued to warn jail officials about Ferry's continued phone access, but jail officials said it would violate Danny's rights to take his phone away.
He is allowed access to a telephone.
In order to steal.
He is allowed access to a telephone.
Well, I know, but you know perfectly well he was stealing. I mean, this must have been a matter of some frustration to you guys, who've been after him now, according to this, for a year or two, and you're getting no place with it.
Anytime an investigation doesn't come to a proper conclusion for the investigator, it's frustrating, so.
Listen, you told the correction personnel, go in there and take the phone out of the cell. What'd they tell you?
If I recall the memo right, that he couldn't do that.
Jail officials finally did search Ferry's cell, seizing hundreds of credit card numbers. But that didn't put him out of business, because he still had a telephone and one hidden credit card number.
And I had written this on the bottom of my bum. And it was a woman's card, though. It was Regina Donovan was the name. And it was a good number. I said, well, here we go. We got to do something.
So Ferry's used the credit card number to pay for a newspaper ad and a telephone answering service.
Performing on the biggest stage in the world was just one step in my journey.
And I ran an ad in USA Today saying, cosmetic package, $89.95 value for only $19.95. All major credit cards accepted. Please call. And Regina Donovan Cosmetics, our 1-800 number.
But Danny never intended to sell any cosmetics. All he was after was a fresh batch of credit card numbers.
Well, the girls there, they take the orders and they write down, okay, thank you for calling Regina Donovan, may I help you? Yes, we saw your ad. Oh, yes. May we have, what credit card will we be using today? They wrote the number, the expiration. And then at the end of the day, I would call and they'd have all these numbers. It was incredible. And so I just got a whole new stack of numbers and I was off. Whew.
You could call him up any time of the day or night, and he was working around the clock, particularly when I was interviewing him.
Pete Collins is a freelance writer in Miami who is writing a book about Danny Ferry's and his jailhouse shopping network.
The operation was working in as many as 40 states. There were as many as 150 drop sites, dozens of employees, $750,000 documented in stolen goods, perhaps up to $2 to $4 million, and that was just during an 11-month window of his captivity.
And you got this mostly from the Secret Service?
I got all of that from the Secret Service.
That's right, the Secret Service. In addition to protecting the president and going after counterfeiters, they also worked credit card fraud cases, and they began to investigate the jailhouse shopping network too. They searched Danny's cell twice, and they confiscated over 1,000 stolen credit card numbers and catalogs. But Danny still had access to a telephone, and he still did business, just as he had for nearly 4 years.
Even on my cell door at ICDC in Dade County, I had a MasterCard and a Visa logo on the outside of my door. It was pretty wide open. So
everybody knew what you were doing, and you kept on doing it.
That's incredible. I just say,
I don't get it. Why would they give you access to a phone if they knew what you were doing?
I give a great phone.
I'm quite serious. Why would they keep letting you have access to a telephone?
I don't know. I of course, every time that they would say, if you don't stop this, we're going to take your phone away. I said, okay, then I won't do it anymore.
But Danny knew that he had a legal right to phone privileges while awaiting trial, so he was able to go on stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars in merchandise.
Here we go.
We wanted to find out more for ourselves about telephone access for the inmates at the Dade County Jail, so we went there to take a look.
There's a guy on the phone right there.
And nothing had changed. We visited Danny's old cell.
This was the office that Danny Ferry's worked out of? Not much bigger than somebody's bathroom.
We were amazed to find a list of telephone numbers on Danny's old cell wall. So we called one.
LL Bean Order Department. Can I order some merchandise this way? And I can order how much? Can I order 100 or 1,000 or $10,000 worth of stuff? No limit. My name is Mike Wallace, and I work for 60 Minutes, and I'm sitting in a cell.
LL Bean hadn't heard about the jailhouse shopping network, but they did say that credit card fraud is a problem for them. And LL Bean had received an order from one Tommy Chapel. the inmate who inherited Danny's old cell.
Explain something. I go into your cell, and suddenly I see on the wall
All the Danny's numbers.
are those Danny's numbers?
It turns out that Tommy Chappell was only one of many inmates who had learned how to use the jailhouse shopping network, courtesy of Danny Ferris.
They don't even have to be terribly intelligent and only marginally capable. It's not. It doesn't. It's like a train, Mr. Wallace. I feel like I constructed a train, and just darn near anybody can drive a train. Heck, it's on a track. All you got to do is put the fuel in, credit card numbers, and this train will go.
But Tommy wasn't about to acknowledge to us that he had graduated from the Danny Ferris College of Credit Card Manipulation.
You've never done any of this?
No.
Raise your hand.
Since Tommy Chappell wasn't going to confess, we asked Sergeant Ted Tate of the Metro-Dade Credit Card Squad what was going on, what is going on at the Dade County Jail.
Sergeant Tate Leatherwood. It's still going on.
Yes, sir, it is.
In Dade County.
Yes, sir, it
In
is.
ICDC. Over telephones. With credit cards.
It's going on in the Dade County jail system, yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, surely Lonnie Lawrence, the director of Dade County Corrections, the man who requested a Secret Service search of Danny Ferry's cell, he could explain why the jailhouse shopping network was still alive and well.
There are legal guidelines that say that we shall provide phone access to inmates.
Inside the cell.
Yes. They don't care where you provide it as long as you provide it.
But what about inmates who abuse the phone system? For instance,
Let's say he's threatening the judge who put him away on the
We
phone.
still have the ability to do that.
You can take that phone away.
We take the phone away.
So you can actually take phone privileges away. What you have not been able to do is to take phone privileges away from guys who are in jail and scamming.
Well,
over the phone.
Well, I think that we've been able to restrict their phone privileges.
I went into Danny Ferris's old cell this morning, 3 hours ago.
All right.
Right there is the telephone. Right there on the wall is a list of 1-800 numbers and credit card numbers. I called LL Bean. They were taking my order. I was playing Danny Ferris.
Right over again.
Slick as it could be.
Well, you know, we don't have a perfect system.
and nobody knows that better than Danny Ferris. He was finally sentenced to 5 years for credit card fraud on top of an earlier life term for murder. And he was moved to the Charlotte Correctional Institution, a much tougher Florida state prison, where, with prison guards looking on, we met a chastened Danny Ferris. He told us the prison officials here have made sure he can no longer practice his trade.
I would like to be very clear. I don't want them perish the thought that they might think I'm still wielding my telephonic sword. You know what I mean? I can't do that.
Why not?
Here in the state prison, they're much more sophisticated.
The state prisons are more sophisticated?
Yes, in the way that.
So what you're saying is you're going straight for force now. Now at Charlotte Correctional Center.
It will just, are having to go in a new direction because well, I mean, come on, I'm not just going to roll over, Mr. Wallace.
Isn't there a lady in Fort Lauderdale you've been talking to?
I don't know. Who
Didn't you offer to set her up in business and rent an apartment from her as a drop site?
Well, I'm sure that I probably did.
Recently?
See, you would get a fella in trouble with all these folks standing around us here.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, you just profess innocence. You don't do it anymore. That's what you just told me, Danny.
I know. Well, here's what
But somehow you're in touch with a lady in Fort Lauderdale renting an apartment, which is going to be a drop site where you are ordering, or she is ordering, or somebody is ordering camcorders and things like this.
As he nervously takes a drink of his root beer.
You're a crook.
Well,
and a murderer.
That's what they say. Doggone, I wish they didn't say that, though.
Danny Ferris has been moved to yet another Florida state prison, and he's been told that he'll be isolated from his fellow inmates if he ever abuses the telephone privilege again. And Dade County jail officials say they now have new procedures for inmate phones. After we went down there to report this story, those inside jail cell telephones were removed.
So you can never use the phone in your cell, but you can use it for that one phone call. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. It's been a while since we've done some bottle breaks, but this could take the cake. Years ago, when I was a kid scrolling through YouTube, we were coming across this this channel for some random guy. They had this thing called I'm a Marvel and I'm a DC. Tonight's Bible Break, a whole short playlist of some of my favorites. So let's take a look.
Help, I'm so lost! I can't figure out insurance!
This is your department.
Hi, I'm a Marvel.
And I'm a DC.
Hey, by the way, welcome back to the movies, man.
It's good to be back. It's been a while, but we've got plenty of projects lined up.
Oh, really? Like, Wonder Woman?
You may see that one eventually.
Oh, Flash?
Hey, you never know. Sometime, possibly soon in the next few years. Keep your ears open. And we just asked a few writers to think about the possibility of maybe what it might take to theoretically make a Justice League movie in the next 10 years or possibly more, perhaps.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking of doing?
Well, actually, we are working on new Iron Man and Hulk and Ant-Man movies.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, and then once we finish the Captain America and Thor movies, we'll follow up with an Avengers movie.
Oh.
Not to mention negotiating for 3 more of my movies and Wolverine and Magneto spin-offs from X-Men.
You know, I might actually fight a supervillain in my next movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, hey, I heard they just cast Two-Face in the next Batman movie. Oh, that is sweet, man.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say something wrong? No, it's just everybody loves Batman.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
No, forget about it.
Hi, I'm a Marvel.
Oh, and I'm a DC.
Hey, what's that you got there?
Oh, it's just a little scrapbook of my film history back in the 70s and 80s. Good times.
Yeah?
You know, when you look back at the whole story and success of those films, you can really appreciate my new film much better. Education, kids. A little homework never hurt anyone. What are you having your kids look over?
Well, nothing really. At Marvel, we just try to tell the stories so that anyone can enjoy them, whether you know the characters or not.
I see. Well, forgive me for trying to teach the kids out there a little something about the classics. Sorry. No, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we all can't have more progressive and modern directors, like Batman has Chris Nolan, and you have Sam Raimi, and the X-Men have Bryan Singer. Ouch. You okay? I just miss the Reagan years, that's all.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Maybe you'd be more comfortable talking to someone else. Just hang on just 1 second.
Hey. You remember 70s and 80s? Yeah? Good times. Yeah. Good times.
Hi, I'm a Marvel.
And I'm a DC. It's a boy.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Woo! I'm a father!
When did that happen in the comics?
What? Oh, no. This is from the new movie. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the comics are fun, and we pull stuff from them here and there, but come on. This is a movie. We need to add some real drama. We'll move things forward.
So, they gave you a kid?
Sure. Yeah, the behind-the-scenes folks were worried my powers and invulnerability might make me tough to relate to for the newer, younger audience, so they decided to make me more vulnerable on the inside by making me a daddy.
That's surprising.
Why?
Well, I mean, at Marvel, we tend to trust the stories and material from the comics to tell the stories on the screen. A change like this just seems pretty drastic.
Hey, you're changing your costume in the next movie.
Yeah, and that was based on a story in the comics. I'm gonna be wearing this outfit again by the end of the movie, but you're still gonna have that kid.
Oh.
So, they thought the best way to make you more relatable to young people was to make you an illegitimate father?
You know, he really doesn't look that much like me, does he?
I'd say there's a pretty strong resemblance.
Really? Because I... Oh, no.
No,
What?
he's still moving. Yep, I'd say he's yours. Hi, I'm a Marvel.
And I'm a DC.
Hey, whoa, is that kryptonite or what?
No. This is just a prop from the new movie.
Ugh, again with the kryptonite.
What do you mean?
Well, it's just that you've used kryptonite in a couple of your movies already. I mean, shouldn't you be moving on to something different?
Oh, it's different in this movie.
How?
Well, this time we've got a whole mountain of kryptonite.
Oh, boy.
That Lex Luthor. You know, what'll he think of next?
Yeah,
you know?
but dude, don't you have any supervillains you can actually fight? I mean, every superhero gets to fight a supervillain that can match him these days.
Really?
At Marvel, we do. In my new movie, I got Sandman, I got Venom, I got a new Goblin, the X-Men got Magneto and Dark Phoenix, even Batman just got Joker and Two-Face. I mean, what did you get?
I got a rock.
Well, at least it can kill you.
Yeah. I guess that's something.
I'm stuck. I couldn't get promoted. I needed to go back to school. CCU Global prepared me that I had the technical skills to do.
Hi, I'm a Marvel.
And I'm a DC.
I'm Batman.
Bruce meets Spidey.
Hey. Hey, big fan.
Spidey says his new movie has a very dark tone, and Batman is pretty dark too, so you two must have a lot in common, right?
Maybe.
What do you got?
Well, my parents died when I was too young to remember, so I was raised by my aunt and uncle.
Oh yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, I was lucky enough to know both my parents until I was 8 years old and they were shot to death in front of me. Go on.
I felt responsible for my uncle's murder, so I became a crime fighter.
Wouldn't know anything about that. Continue.
Well, hey, it's been pretty rough, man. In the comics, I had a girlfriend who died in my arms.
Please, you know how many girlfriends have died in my arms?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I guess you could always go cry into a pile of money. I have to make my own way.
Still, you got that radioactive spider bite for free. That's not a bad deal. Boom, there's your powers right there. I had to get my powers by... Oh, wait, that's right. I don't have any powers.
Well, remind me to buy 20 years of training and a bat cave the next time I inherit $50 billion.
Wire
brat.
Damn! Your parents and your uncle. Yeah. Never gets any easier, does it? No, it doesn't.
Tell me about it. Us orphans, we gotta stick together. Oh, almost forgot. Ma's making meatloaf tonight.
Huh. Come on, kid. I'll buy you a coffee.
Thanks.
You know, you kind of remind me of one of my old partners.
Really?
No.
Oh, hang on a second. I want to show you something from the new movie.
What is it?
What do you think?
That's what you're wearing?
Yeah.
Cute.
Oh, cute.
No, it's
What do you mean
fine. No,
cute?
it's fine. It's fine.
There's a bunch of these playlists, so...
Hitting the milkshake's pretty hard there, kid.
Leave me alone.
Sure you're okay to drive?
Stop it.
'Cause I got a car.
Hey!
Come on, cheer up, kid.
I don't understand. I gave everyone what they wanted. Sam Raimi wanted Sandman, the audience expected a new Goblin, and the studio was pushing for Venom.
No. The red kryptonite makes me go crazy. The gold kryptonite takes away my powers.
So which one should I be carrying?
Well, I'm just trying to give you options.
No, I'll just stick with the green one. Seems easiest.
Well, you know, the green one can kill me.
Yeah. So what's your point?
Well, oh, no, I don't believe it. Not him. Don't look.
Hitting the milkshake's pretty hard there, kid.
Not now.
You need me to call you a cab?
Come on.
I can't trust you in the car.
Hey!
Come on, cheer up, kid.
I can't believe this is happening again. 3 villains, an uneven narrative, creepy behavior. Didn't we just go through all this 7 years ago?
That's what happens when you focus too much on setting up future movies and not on...
Be sick.
Saw some of the comments your writer, Mr. Goyer.
Hey, Bub, I'm a Marvel.
And I'm a DC. I am a Marvel, and I'm a D.
Wow. It's just basically a whole repeat of Marvel and DC, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. That's kind of cool. And that's Give Me a Break for this Friday going to Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Saturday night. For all of us here at YouTube, and Give Me a Break. Stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Red and blue, baby. Have a good night.